It's the industry appointment of the year for the publishing sector here in France. The Festival du Livre de Paris is back after a 2-year absence. The flagship book fair brings together authors, publishers, booksellers and book lovers, of course, for a celebration of literature in all its forms. Well, we'll be bringing you the latest from the fair, where France 24's Catherine Kadir-Clifford is covering the event. And here in the studio, I'm joined by author Vikas Swarup. Thank you so much for being here with us, Vikas. Now, I wanted to ask you, in your two capacities as a best-selling author of the critically acclaimed Q&A, which became the film sensation Slumdog Millionaire, and in your parallel career as a diplomat, I'm sure travel was a regular part of your life. How have the last 2 years been for you?
The last 2 years have been, something unimaginable, because for a diplomat, meeting people, going to places, presenting India's point of view is the most important thing. And for the last 2 years, because of this pandemic, we've all been homebound, so to speak, and we have not been able to connect the way we should have connected in person. We have been connecting, of course, online and digitally. But I think, diplomacy is about chemistry. It's not about physics. The broadband line is about physics, but diplomacy is about chemistry. And that is only possible in a face-to-face meeting.
And thank God we are back to many of them. Indeed, COVID-19 saw the Festival du Livre de Paris cancelled for 2 consecutive years. And to tell us more about its return to the French capital, we can now cross to Catherine. Hi, Cathy. Now, I know there have been a few changes to the event. It's had a bit of a makeover. What's new?
It's really a huge overhaul and transformation of what is now called the Festival de Livre here in Paris. To start with the location, I'm here at the Grand Palais Éphémère in the heart of Paris, a really beautiful setting, and in previous years it's been held at the Porte de Versailles, which is usually used to hold some of France's biggest industry fairs, such as the Salon de l'Agriculture, the agricultural fair. So really the atmosphere is very different, much more of a festive feel as opposed to the sort of industry commercial focused fairs of previous years. What's also changed is the people running it. It used to be ran by a private company. It's now ran by the French publishing unions themselves. So of course issues very close to the heart of the industry, now really at its centre in the festival.
And every year, the festival invites a country as guest of honour. This year, it's India, with a cohort of 30 visiting authors. And in addition to that Indian selection, there's a very diverse lineup at the fair. Lots of events on the bill that go beyond the usual definitions of bookish. What caught your eye there?
So on the lineup here, we have the usual classics, readings, talks, book signings. We're also seeing some major literary stars like Nobel Literature Prize winner Orhan Pamuk will be here, Mohamed Boujar-Sarr, some French bestsellers like Nicolas Mathieu, and of course the Belgian author Amélie Nothomb, and Douglas Kennedy, US author, who's very, very popular here in France. But there's also, within the 180 events billed over this weekend, we'll see some more multi-sensory events, such as French author Agnès Dessart will be reading, accompanied by a dance interpretation with choreographer Louise Hakim. Also poet and environmental activist Cyril Dion will be reading and singing, accompanied by the guitarist Sébastien Hugues. Also literary walking events. I particularly like the look of the one themed around the author Colette, going to see some of her old haunts around Paris.
Now, this is a cultural event, of course, but also an important commercial opportunity for publishing houses, and it's organised by France's National Union of Publishers. Are we seeing any evidence of the challenges faced by the industry, any of the financial effects of the pandemic?
The fair has been cancelled for the past 2 years straight due to the pandemic, so really looking for new ways to survive. And in fact, this year, some major French publishers who dropped out in recent years of the Salon de Livre have come back to the festival in its new format. So already some signs that it's doing well in this new format. The industry as a whole during lockdown in France, as we've seen elsewhere in the world, really did quite well in the end. In 2021, the French industry saw an unprecedented boost in growth. That's 12.5% in euros compared to 2020 and 7.4% compared to 2019. But this golden era hasn't lasted into 2022 for now. since January, bookstore sales are down by 10% year on year. Also comes really amid a turbulent time for the French publishing industry, with the publishing giants Hachette and Editis set to perhaps merge with Vivendi, controlled by the billionaire Vincent Bolloré, set to take over Hachette. So a lot of job uncertainty for some in publishing, sure to be on the lips of many in talks backstage here at the festival.
Catherine Kadir-Clifford reporting for us from the book fair there. Thank you very much. Vikas, coming back to you. Now, you're participating in a roundtable on the crime thriller at the festival with two other Indian writers, A.J. Chowdhury and Manu Joseph. This is a genre that has its roots in the urban experience, be that in Calcutta or Delhi or even London. I believe that Mumbai, formerly Bombay, has been an important inspiration for you. What is it about the city that makes it a good literary setting?
I think Mumbai has always been called the city of dreams. People come to Mumbai to, make their life because it's the center of the film industry. Bollywood, which is the world's largest film industry, as you know, we produce more than 1,200 films a year, double that of Hollywood. And because of that, and plus, it's the center of the financial industry as well. And as they say, the streets of Mumbai are paved with gold. You just have to find your own brick. And that's why it's such a compelling setting for a thriller. Because, Mumbai has everything. It has power, it has greed, it has corruption, and it has glamour. It has all the ingredients that you need for a powerful crime thriller narrative. And that's why Mumbai has always been very attractive to writers of that genre.
All the human drama there. Now, I mentioned your novel Q&A earlier and its incredible film adaptation, which picked up countless awards, Oscars, BAFTAs, Golden Globes. And your second novel, Six Suspects, has now been adapted as a series by Disney+. You definitely have a gift for highly visual writing. And I wondered whether cinema was an inspiration. Do you see your stories when you're writing?
Yes, I have a very visual imagination, and I do see the scene playing in my head before I put it down onto the page. And that's why, when people adapt my books for the screen, they find it relatively easy. Because, as I said, I have been heavily influenced by the Indian films that I have watched, because film watching in India is a national pastime because we produce so many films. And Indians like to engage with that world, which is the world of glamour. Sometimes, for some, it's an escapism because, their own lives are so dreary. They want to immerse themselves in the lives of the rich and famous. But I think in general, Indians are great storytellers and Indians love stories, and films are a medium of telling stories.
Absolutely. Now, you recently retired from the civil service after a career that saw you as Indian High Commissioner in Canada. You worked in Turkey, South Africa, Japan, and I believe that writing came a little bit later on in life while you were already a diplomat. I wondered if literature opened up a new dimension to your work in international affairs. How did it change your perspective?
Yes, it did, because it opened up many more doors for me. For instance, people may not want to meet the Indian High Commissioner to Canada, but they do want to meet the writer of Slumdog Millionaire. So from that point of view, many more invitations came my way from universities and institutions that would not have come my way if I was just a diplomat. And I've always used this opportunity, this second career, so to speak, that I have, to open up more doors for me as a diplomat. So I would go, if somebody calls me to speak about Slumdog Millionaire, I would go there, but I would talk about India in general.
And with that international perspective that you've gained, when we talk about Indian literature as they are at the book fair, what is it that sets it apart from other national output, do you think? When you hold it up against other characteristic literatures, what is it that's so special about Indian literature?
I think, first of all, the sheer diversity of India. We have 23 official languages, thousands of dialects. And India is such a diverse country. They say every 200 kilometers, the food changes, the dress changes, the language changes. So you have to imagine India literally as Europe, where you go to one country and everything changes. You go to another country and you find something totally different. The cuisine would be different. The food, the dress would be different. The language would be different. So I think India has to be seen in that context. It's a subcontinent, and it is really an amazing amalgam of all these diverse cultures coming together in a spirit of unity. So because I think India is such a diverse country, it speaks to the world. That how to manage diversity, because I believe that the central challenge before the world in the 21st century is how to manage diversity. And I think India provides a very good example of how to manage diversity. And that's why India, being a partner country at the Paris Book Fair is so important.
And as you say, a goldmine of stories. Vikas Swarup, thank you so much for joining us today. The Festival du Livre de Paris takes place at the Grand Palais Éphémère, right next to the Hôtel des Invalides, until Sunday. We'll leave you with a taste of that series we mentioned, adapted from the book Six Suspects. This is The Great Indian Murder. Do remember you can get more arts and culture news on our website and on our social media channels too. There's more news coming up on France 24 just after this.
बहुत दिन से देख रही हूँ आप इस केस को घुमा के किसी और ही दिशा में पहुंचाना चाह रहे हैं।
Hotstar Specials presents The Great Indian Murder.